Hello, I'm Jonasz Lewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Let's say you hear someone being called a dictator with no elections. Who might that be? Kim Jong-un? Definitely Kim Jong-un. Nobody ever voted for Rocket Man. So, do I get the prize? What do you mean, no? Okay, Vladimir Putin then. In theory, he does actually do elections, but we all know it's make-believe. Not Putin. So Alexander Lukashenko then? Not him either. Wait, did you say Volodymyr Zelensky? Yeah, this is exactly what US President Donald Trump said. He called Zelensky a dictator with no elections. Not because he didn't win any elections, you see, but because he doesn't want to hold elections in wartime. Because, to paraphrase an excellent Twitter post by Ukraine's first Deputy Prime Minister and Economic Minister Yulia Sviridenko, right now what Ukraine needs is bullets, not ballots. And yet, Trump seems to think otherwise. And you know, this isn't the first time Trump does this either. Only yesterday, we ran a story about him seemingly accusing Ukraine of being responsible for the war not coming to a swift end. Because it makes perfect sense. You get attacked by enemy troops, so you try and talk to them? If this was the American way, then surely George W. Bush should have gotten together with Osama bin Laden for a little chat. In any case, Trump's latest rant actually goes far beyond this. Let's run a quick fact check then. Okay, so first, Trump called Zelensky a modestly successful comedian. Well, so modest was his success that he even became president eventually. Also, ever heard of this modestly successful actor called Ronald Reagan? Alright, next. The United States spent $200 billion more than Europe on aid to Ukraine. End of quote. Well, apparently not. The Kiel Institute, for example, says Europe gave $258 billion in military, financial and humanitarian aid through December 2024. The US? About $124 billion, apparently. Just doesn't add up. And then, there is the whole election thing. In wartime, elections in Ukraine are illegal, so you would need Zelensky to break the law. Plus, Russia would love to exploit elections across occupied territories to install some random oligarch running on remote control. Not cool, fam. Trump also claims Zelensky has 4% of public support. Now, opinion polls differ, but the most recent ones show about 57% of Ukrainians trust the man. 57%. This also happens to be higher than Trump's most recent poll, which indicates 44%. Could it be that he's just being salty? Oh, and speaking of salty, listen to this.
And we had a deal based on rare earth and things, but they broke that deal. But they broke it 2 days ago. We had a deal because I said, we're spending $350 billion and Europe gets their money back in the form of a loan, and we don't. We're just giving the money hand over fist. That's the Biden administration for you.
So why the outburst? Is it because Zelensky didn't want to get into a bad deal? And let's be 100% clear on that. Zelensky could not have broken a deal because he hadn't signed it yet. It's like giving the elbow to a random person from Tinder and then later on saying, oh, you've broken up the engagement after they already had the wedding gifts and all that. Boo-hoo. People are actually coming back now to Trump's modestly successful cameo in Home Alone 2 and making memes about it. And they have a point. If Kevin met Trump today, he would have pointed him in the wrong direction. Well, it's all right, because he should make concessions to the burglars anyway. Also, Kevin, any update on those elections? Of course, who needs consistency when you have state-controlled media? Vladimir Solovyov, Russia's leading propaganda acrobat, has once again performed a breathtaking somersault. This time from "America is the root of all evil" to "Let us divide Europe together." For years, he has railed against the US as Moscow's eternal enemy, the warmonger, the imperialist, the country that wanted to destroy Russia, enslave its people, and steal its resources. And now? Now that there is even a whisper of a so-called peace treaty, the Kremlin's favorite talk show host is suddenly fantasizing about a military coalition with Washington. The logic? Well, simple. If you can't beat them, pretend you've always been on the same side.
А почему не создать военную коалицию России и Америки и поделить Европу нахрен?
Можно.
Ну, кому она нужна?
Можно.
По-моему, отличная идея, да? Вести российские, американские войска, Европе не надо будет ни от кого защищаться. Тихо, аккуратно поставим наши базы в привычных точках. Берлин, Париж, как в 2014 году, 1800. По-моему, четко, ясно, спокойно. Европа сразу сэкономит на вооруженных силах, на военно-промышленном комплексе. И не надо ни о чем будет беспокоиться. Отличная идея.
It's almost admirable how quickly the official narrative can change. One moment, America is the great Satan. The next, Solovyov is casually throwing out the idea of carving up Europe together, as if he were discussing weekend plans over tea. Who even needs Europe, he asks, as though dismantling an entire continent is as easy as changing a TV script. So, forget all the nuclear threats, the nuclear ballistic missile flexing, and the endless speeches about Russia standing alone against the decadent West. Turns out, all of that can be rewritten overnight, because in the end, Russian propaganda isn't about ideology, it's about whatever keeps the Kremlin's latest fantasy alive for just a little bit longer. And if that means pretending that the United States is suddenly a potential ally in redrawing the world map, then so be it. Who knows? By next week, Solovyov might be praising the virtues of NATO. Russia has always been a visionary country. While others were wasting time in pointless negotiations, the Kremlin had already mapped out the entire peace process. And what a process it is! If Ukraine refuses to surrender, Russia will simply hold referendums in every region that was once part of the USSR. Simple, effective, and straight to the point. Who needs diplomacy when you have pre-stuffed ballots? And the best part? Washington doesn't seem too bothered about this. Donald Trump, ever the master of balance, has decided that it is more important to call Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator than to question why Russia keeps liberating parts of its neighbors. He doesn't criticize Putin's system because, let's face it, if you start asking why political opponents keep falling out of windows, you might have to admit that Russia isn't exactly a beacon of freedom.
Ну а если Украина будет, извините меня, кочевряжиться, да, то очень верно было вчера высказано нашим послом в ООН, высказано замечание, что если будет вот такое происходить, то о том, о чем начали договариваться в 2022 году, и когда можно было еще с такими, знаете, меньшими негативными результатами, по мнению Украины, переговоры завершить. Вот. То, что если сейчас они не согласятся на эти варианты, когда все 4 новых субъекта, которые по Конституции, вся их территория является территорией Российской Федерации, на демилитаризацию, на уменьшение численности вооруженных сил Украины, и если сейчас они с этим не согласятся, то следующие переговоры, возможные, уже будут идти и с учетом проведенных референдумов во всех областях, которые имеют отношение к России, к Советскому Союзу и были неотъемлемыми частями.
Meanwhile, Moscow's collaborators, like Vladimir Saldo, are getting bolder. Why stop at Kherson? If the US is going to play along with the illusion of both sides, why not dream big after all? Maybe he'll wake up tomorrow to hear that Alaska has voted 99.9% in favor of rejoining the Russian Empire. The logic is the same. It is just a question of how far Putin thinks he can go before someone finally stops nodding along. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.